Welcome back to the Pulse. We're in Parliament, where Joseph Okudzeto is with Alex Kojokom-Aban, Vice Chair for the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, and he's also MP for Gomwa West. Joseph Okudzeto, what is the Vice Chair, what's his impression about the Foreign Minister's response to Parliament?
Land notes and also subsequently discuss a few of the issues that's come up with privileges relating to MPs. But Honorable Aban is joining us, and so we heard from the Foreign Affairs Minister indicating that on the Gitmo 2 issue, the agreement has been brought and virtually everything has been left in the hands of Parliament at this juncture. Is that how it should go, or we should expect a more specific stance from the executive?
Thank you very much. The Constitution is clear on international agreements that they don't become enforceable unless it has been ratified by Parliament, either by a vote or by a resolution to that effect. It is not doubted at all by our friends on the other side that the ex-while NDC government failed in their duty to bring this to Parliament at that time when they even had controlling majority to at least have ratified that. Okay?
The argument is that they didn't know. Now the Supreme Court has made it clear, and so, well, to a certain extent, they can be faulted.
They can be faulted. You see, we are working with the Constitution, so they cannot pretend to say they didn't know. In fact, they were simply lawless. Okay, they decided not to bring it before the representatives of the people. I'm sure if they had done that, we would not go through this, right? If they had done that, we would have known that at least our representatives, being the parliamentarians, had by either a resolution or by a vote of the majority, had accepted that these people should be here. We all didn't know how they got here until snippets of information came around, and then we all got to know that these were here, right?
The minorities that were asking, has the MPP's position on the issue changed since? Because then the ranking member of Foreign Affairs Committee was quoting a document and indicating that then the MPP was against their stay.
Good. We're against their stay because no proper legal foundation had been laid for their being here, right? Good. So now, the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the MPP's position was vindicated. That, you see, they should have brought the agreement to Parliament for ratification. This had not been done. So the Supreme Court said that, good, we are giving you 3 months to correct the legal mistakes that you made, right? So either you go and seek ratification from Parliament, or you return them. Now, the current Minister for Foreign Affairs decides that let us go and ratify this matter by submitting it to Parliament for the necessary deliberations and ratification. And I don't see
that's very much in order.
That's in order.
Okay. Let's move on to the other major topic on the floor of Parliament earlier in the day. Muntaka Mubarak, the minority chief whip, drew the attention of the House to the fact that there's been a situation of alleged harassment involving some minority MPs. He mentioned Dr. Dominic Ayene, the MP for Bolgatanga Central. He mentioned John Jinapo, former Deputy Prime Minister, and also mentioned Dr. Kwabena Donko, the MP for Pru, and was asking that the Speaker gives a firm directive that these people shouldn't be harassed any further, as in there shouldn't be situations of their houses being searched and situations of efforts by the police to take documents from them in a way that supposes that they would want to harass them to a certain extent. The Speaker indicated he was going to take very firm actions on the issue. Could this have been avoided in any way? Shouldn't the police have known better to have gone at these sitting MPs the way they did?
I would say it's unfortunate that it happened that way. You know, what is happening to any of our colleagues could happen to us, either in government or out of government. And so we should not encourage the police to do this, right? Because much as we agree, just like what we discussed on the Gitmo 2 issue about rules of law, rules of procedure. In much the same way, we must respect the provisions of the Constitution regarding the arrests of MPs, right? It is clear in the Constitution that no civil or criminal action should be mounted on an MP on his way to Parliament, on his way out of Parliament, and all that.
Usually the argument is that MPs are not superhumans. You are an ordinary citizen, and so if the police needs to investigate an MP and deal with him over one thing or the other, the laws that apply to ordinary people should apply to MPs. What do you make of such a suggestion?
Thank you. You see, the law, or my position is not that MPs cannot be arrested. No. But there is a procedure for the arrest of an MP, which must be followed. That's what I'm saying. And we don't want the police, or we don't want this to be a police state where you sit somewhere as an MP and then they come and arrest you and all that. I even think that they should have first been invited. Whatever charges there are, you read it to them. And on the basis of that, having gone through, the proper procedure for inviting them, and on the basis of that, then you can show the warrant, and then the person can lead you to the house. But this business of you getting up from your house, you do not know what is happening, and quickly they haul you and say, oh, we are coming to investigate, or we are coming to search on the basis of some search warrant. I think it's not very fine.
Very well then. Many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
The Honorable Alexander Kojo Aban is the Vice Chairman of the Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. And so that's what has been happening. Following the concerns that were raised by the minority, the indication is that going forward, leadership of the House will be dealing with the issue when it comes to the privileges of MPs and the searches that we've seen happening in their various houses. But again, on the issue of the Gitmo 2, there have been a number of concerns that some members on the minority side continue to raise. Samuel Okudzeto, the MP for North has been addressing the media here a while ago, and he's been making the point that they are not fully satisfied with some of the responses that they got from the Foreign Affairs Minister when she appeared before the House. But they look forward to the documents that she's brought and the agreement, and they'll be doing the necessary scrutiny and a decision on whether Parliament will give the green light for that or otherwise will be taken subsequently. Aisha.
That was Joseph Opoku-Gakpo from Parliament, bringing us up to speed with what has happened in the House. And of course, he ends or wraps up by saying that the document is now with the House. The House looks forward to scrutinizing the document and making the necessary recommendations to the House. We now have Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, whose question actually brought in the Foreign Affairs Minister to respond to the questions.
Ranking member committee, as you rightly indicated, Aisha. Now, thanks very much for joining us. So we heard from the minister indicate that they've subsequently brought the agreement on the Gitmo 2 issue to you, the MPs here in Parliament, and that it's all been left in your hands. Satisfied? You pose those questions to her.
Certainly not satisfied. Not satisfied at all. The minister clearly engaged in some rigmarole, trying to obfuscate issues and pass the buck. The judgment is very clear. The rhetoric of the NPP when they were in opposition is very clear. And I came to Parliament today armed with all the press conferences that they read, the statements that they read at their press conferences. And candidate Akufo-Addo, now His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the statement that he caused to be issued on the 16th of April, 2016, distancing himself, that he wasn't consulted on this. And the January 13, 2016 press conference addressed by the NPP, where they stated, quote, "So the widespread hysteria and phobia over the former Guantanamo detainees must be founded on genuine apprehension, especially since it does not seem their own country, Yemen, was prepared to take them in," unquote. We all heard the things they said, even suggesting that President Mahama had received money, personal inducement for this whole agreement. Okay. And today today, after the Supreme Court judgment, they had a wonderful opportunity because the judgment is clear that pursuant to Article 75, President Mahama should have come for ratification from Parliament. Once he didn't do that, the whole agreement is null and void. It's unconstitutional. So you just have to return the two if you want to be consistent with your campaign rhetoric. Yeah, so I expected that today the foreign minister will have taken the opportunity that I had offered by filing this question to apologize to Ghanaians. Because I knew that there had been a cabinet decision that they would do exactly what President Mahama did. That's why I filed the question. And I thought that she would have come to Parliament with candor, with sincerity, and will have showed some respect to the Ghanaian people who are very, smart and discerning and recall vividly all the things that the MPP said. There were even campaign ads. You remember, during the 2016 general election.
The Speaker was drawing attention to the fact that this is business in Parliament. If you have to go draw all the campaign promises and campaign pledges and use that to come make a point to hold people to write you on the floor, then you may end up virtually disobeying the directive by the Supreme Court. And so he was insisting you focus on the issue at hand. What do you make of that suggestion?
You could tell that with all due respect, the Speaker, my own Sunday school teacher, was very uncomfortable. Today, he did more of the answering for the Honorable Minister than the Minister herself. But you know, the majority leader kept interrupting me. It's clear that it's an uncomfortable issue for the MPP. They had a tough time today. It was very, very clear. And they did not want me to be reading their own statements, their own pronouncements. It was very, very obvious. That is why I thought that to have curtailed all of this, if the minister had come to Parliament and said that, look, people of Ghana, I respect you so much. We took this position when we were in opposition. At the time, we wanted votes. We thought that we could cash in, raise some fear and panic, insecurity issues, and then win the election. But now, having assessed the risk, we've seen that these two detainees are not that risky. Forgive us. Let's move on. That will have been a better approach. It will have showed that the MPP is willing to engage in the politics of sincerity, of principle.
Okay, but why didn't your government do the right thing by bringing the agreement to Parliament first of all before accepting them to the extent that the Supreme Court had to rule it unconstitutional? Something that this position that you're taking and you are turning around criticizing the MPP amounts to double standard, because it's your fault in the first place, as in your government, that you didn't do the right thing even before getting them in.
We took the view, and President Mahama communicated this quite eloquently, that, you see, there are executive agreements, and then there are the general treaties and conventions that are subject to Article 75 of the Constitution. As the Supreme Court said in this judgment, it will even require constitutional amendment, because the Supreme Court is saying that Ghana's Constitution has not differentiated between executive agreements, note verbals, MOUs, that do not require parliamentary ratification, and treaties, conventions, and international agreements that require parliamentary ratification. Sure. Other constitutions, like the United States Constitution, the Constitution of South Africa, is stated clearly. But the Supreme Court, in this decision, the 22nd June decision, says that Ghana does not have that. And so now, and before this decision, many MOUs, even by the Ministry of Education, I signed a lot of them for scholarships and all of that, all over the world. Now, per this decision, we have to bring all of that to Parliament for parliamentary ratification. And I'm concerned that moving forward...
Yeah, is that feasible? Or is taking us to the realm of absurdity?
It's clearly taking us to the realm where it will be really, every single agreement, note verbal, every communication, has to be brought to Parliament for ratification. Other countries don't do that. So moving forward, that is why I agree with the dissenting judgment that was delivered by Justice Atuguba, and I encourage people to read that. He took the view that these are aliens, and sovereignty requires. And he quoted, from authority, the 1984, decision, or the Susudis decision, and all of that. He delivered a very erudite, enlightening, dissenting judgment, which I believe that, as has been the case often in the law, in the future, it is likely that dissenting judgment will become the position of the law, because clearly, moving forward, it will really be difficult. And that is why you can see that even now, there are so many MOUs that have not been brought. The famous China 19 billion MOU has not been brought for ratification, and yet the MPP government keeps talking about it all over the place. So now MOUs, note verbals, all of those agreements have to come to Parliament. But what is the substance of the matter, the crux of the matter, is that the NPP government lied to Ghanaians. They deceived Ghanaians that they will return the Gitmo 2. They had an opportunity with this Supreme Court decision, and they did not. And we are going to see how they vote next week. They are now trying to, they are trying to elongate, as it were, delay their embarrassment, drag their embarrassment, drag it. Next week, we will see how they vote, how their members vote, because they are in the majority. If they don't want Gitmo 2 to stay, consistent with their campaign promise, we expect them to vote against the ratification.
Will you vote for against it? Briefly, that's the final.
I will vote for it. Okay. I know I'm very well apprised with this. I know what Ghana stands to benefit.
Sure.
And other, counter-terrorism arrangements and all of that, which I cannot go into, delve into details. So I will vote for it because it's in our national interest, our strategic national interest, and it enhances Ghana-U.S. relations. But let there be politics of principle, not politics of double standards and hypocrisy.
Many thanks for speaking to us. The minorities spokesperson on foreign affairs there with those comments on the issue of the Gitmo 2. Back to you, Aisha.
Many thanks to you, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. And you heard Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who is also Member of Parliament for North Tongue, who certainly is not satisfied with the answers provided in Parliament by the Foreign Affairs Minister, and is also not satisfied with the conduct of the Speaker, who he says answered most of the questions for the Foreign Affairs Minister. But he tops up that issue by saying that the NPP is very uncomfortable when the issues of the Gitmo 2 comes up. Well, we'll be looking up to the debates that ensues in Parliament on that document.